don't know what to say. The monkeys won't do. And I also don't know what to say about those crazy producers from the Geek Talk Radio Network. They're driving me crazy. Ugh.
So before we get into ToonCast episode 82, Kevin and I... Oh, excuse me. I'm choking here because I'm so pissed off at this point. Kevin and I are fairly angry. I messaged him earlier today. We're recording this Sunday, December 5th. And I frequently check the iTunes reviews for the different shows here at Geekcast Radio Network. You know, I frequently check them, I don't know, maybe once or twice every 2 weeks.
Yeah, although we did just learn that we can't see Canadian feedback.
No, I knew that.
Oh, okay, I did not know that.
I've known that you cannot see it because iTunes is region coded to whatever country, it's country coded to whatever country you live in. You're not going to be able to see reviews from any other country other than the one that you're coded as.
So if you leave us feedback and you're in Canada, send us a message so we can find somebody that can read it for us.
Yeah. Yeah. I found a way around that, so. Okay. But as far as someone who can inform us on it. So yeah, I checked the iTunes reviews for ToonCast because I thought of it for once, because normally once we get to the outro of the show, I'm like, oh, leave us reviews in iTunes. I'm like, oh crap, I forgot to look at the iTunes feedback. So I looked at it today, and we have a new review for ToonCast in iTunes.
We got to preface this.
No. We're not prefacing anything
No, I just want to say, like, ToonCast does get, I think, almost the most reviews out of almost all the GCRN shows. Yeah. So it's not like it's a foreign thing for us to get reviews.
Right.
So, you know, we do get more than just the occasional one, but.
Yes.
And I'm not pissed. I'm actually.
No, I'm pissed.
I'm humored. I think it's
fucking humored. I want to rip this guy's nuts off.
Well, that's kind of explicit. Wait a second, he'll have a problem with that. You're a pervert.
No, not in a perverted way. I want to literally perform a Lorena Bobbitt on his ass.
Well, he'll say that's perverted.
Yeah. Walt Manxp. Or Waltman XP, or whatever the hell his name is. I don't know.
Waltman XP.
Whatever. The title of the review is Painfully Ignorant, and it gets 1 star. I heard a few episodes like Titan AE, Richie Rich, Gem, Pinocchio. What I was expecting to hear was cartoon nostalgia from the 80s and 90s with interviews from the people who produced the cartoons, maybe even inviting Jerry back on for a Q&A, at least inviting someone who has any knowledge in cartoon animation, but instead, what I hear was a bunch of foul-mouthed perverts talking about cartoons they grew up with, which is probably why writers and producers won't come on their podcast. It's indisputably obvious that the Geekcast guys are clueless in the subject of children's literature, and review of Pinocchio proves that. You can get all the cartoon information you need from Wikipedia without the explicit language, porn reference, or ignorance. Now, pause.
I'm sorry, I'm laughing.
Hold on. Stop laughing. Hold on. When I read this, my whole upper body, my arms, hands, everything, my eyes probably went fucking red.
Oh, I thought it was going to turn green.
I was literally ready to jump through my monitor, and my fat ass probably wouldn't have fit through it, but I was ready to jump through my monitor and kill this guy.
Now, first of all, before we start ranting.
Hold on. I know. You want to clarify. Hold on. First of all, you are wrong, Walt, whatever the fuck your name is, because we have had writers on the show. We are not on this show specifically, but we've had writers on Geekcast Radio Podcast. We've had voice actors on Geekcast Radio Podcast.
We don't have them in the show because the show would be way too long if we included that as part of the episode.
We include interviews specific to what podcast, specific to what topic.
They are their own show.
Exactly, and they are their own episode. We have interviews from such voice actors as David Kaye, David Sobolov, Gary Chalk, Ian James Corlett, Larry Kenny, the voice of fucking Lion-O, hello, dumbass, Maurice LaMarche, Tara Strong, Rob Paulson, happy birthday, Kevin, we have writers such as Christy Marks, David Wise, Jim Sorensen, Larry DiTilio, and Robert N. Skier. So
apparently they won't come on our show and give us interviews.
Yeah, exactly, really.
Those must all be pretend people.
And that's the truth.
Although they do the voices really well.
Oh, yeah. It's just Steve. He mimics everybody.
I guess it's Steve mimicking everybody, and he also knows the inside scoop from the writers, so he can pretend to be them.
Exactly, yeah. And as far as your other comment in your review, you asshat,
somebody else got called asshat besides me.
This is not fucking children's literature. This is cartoon reviews.
We don't not know stuff about children's literature, but that's not what these shows are about. These shows are, notice the name of the podcast, ToonCast. We are talking about cartoons. We specifically are not talking about books or, any type of other literature form that came before the movies, came after. We briefly sometimes mentioned that there was comic books about the series, etc., but we're not talking about that. We're talking about the animated product. That's it. So you have no knowledge of what our knowledge is of children's literature because we never talk about it because that's not what this podcast is about. I don't know why you thought that's what you were going to get, but you're out of your freaking mind.
He does have one good point, and, maybe we could do this down the line. He said something about getting Jerry Beck on for a Q&A or whatever. I would love to have Mr. Beck on. Jerry Beck is the Looney Tunes and old, Golden Age historian. That worked, I believe he is currently working for Warner Brothers or has worked for Warner Brothers in the past. So, I would love to talk to Mr. Beck, but
we're constantly trying to get more people to interview. That's why we have an interview at least almost every month, it seems like.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I shoot for interviews at different times because I want them to tie into whatever upcoming episode or episode that just passed.
Right.
Obviously, the Rob Paulson interview was a year and a half in the making, but it's just one.
But you titled your review "Painfully Ignorant." I guarantee that you had never gone to Geekcast Radio's website.
Geekcastradio.com.
Yeah, geekcastradio.com. You never went there. You never saw any of the other types of podcasts we have. You never saw the whole interview tab. So who's the ignorant one here? I mean, the only ignorant one here is the person that wrote the review because he just listened to a few things on iTunes, failed to hear us mention stuff about the website or this or that, so you're the ignorant one. I don't know what you were expecting to hear. Excuse me, but the podcast is labeled explicit, so yes, occasionally we're going to cuss because we're not little kids. This is not for little kids. This is for people that grew up in the 80s. Guess what? All those people are adults now. They can handle cursing, and if they don't want it, they can see the explicit tag and not listen to our podcast. So you're just a freaking moron. Now, I don't want this to seem like we can't take feedback or we're shunning people that want to give us constructive criticism. If you want, if you find a few things wrong with our show or if you think we could improve this way or that way, you can leave us feedback and give us constructive criticism, but don't say things that just aren't true. Like we can't get writers on our show when we've interviewed a half a dozen of them in the last year.
And I've talked to Stan Bush multiple times. Well, no, I mean, I'm just saying, like I have a personal email relationship and personal relationship as far as talking with the guy with Stan Bush for 2 years now.
Yeah, and I've talked personally with so many voice actors in the last year that not necessarily that we've interviewed, but through emailed, through different correspondence for my other website. I mean, we're not retarded when it comes to voice acting, animation, and cartoons.
Exactly.
We may not be geniuses when it comes to literature. That's why we didn't make a podcast about children's literature.
You know what the sad thing is? It's not sad that you did this, but it's sad that you pointed out all this stuff to me, like his YouTube channel and his MySpace page. I looked at his MySpace page. This guy is 32 fucking years old.
Yeah. That's why I had to check, because it sounded like it was like a freaking 10-year-old that wrote this review.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to see how old he was, but apparently, I don't know.
Oh.
I don't know why you were expecting something different. I don't know why you made comments about stuff you don't know, but your review was pointless and you're an idiot. But please, other people out there that are listening, do leave us feedback, whether it's positive, constructive criticism, whatever. Just don't make an ass out of yourself. Oops,
and I will
cursed again.
And I will, yeah, exactly. And I will mention this throughout the rest of ToonCast's lifespan. If you guys want us to respond to feedback between now and June 1st, 2011, you better get those reviews or emails in, because once
call
episode...
the voicemail line.
Yeah, call the voicemail line, 502-526-5821. Once episode 100 airs, won't be any more feedback response for ToonCast. The show is
shut.
ending.
But one other thing, too. I assume he's calling us perverted because of the Pinocchio episode.
Yeah.
But just FYI, we did receive great comments about the Pinocchio episode through our Facebook page, and people that thought it was absolutely hilarious and stuff like that. So, you can have your opinion about the pervertedness or about that. That's a valid comment, whatever, but you're in the minority, apparently, with that opinion.
Yeah, exactly.
That's fine. If it's stuff like that, if you're worried about, if you think we made too many perverted remarks, or if you think we have a wrong opinion about a show or whatever, like our super fan Kevin, he calls in the voicemail all the time and he left us constructive criticism on one show that he disagreed with us, and we didn't shun him for it, but at least he knew what he was talking about. Yeah,
exactly. And just to give you guys a case in point here on the Pinocchio stuff, Robin was the first commenter on the Pinocchio. Oh God!
Don't make it sexual.
I know. Pinocchio post that I've made on the Facebook fan page. Listen to this on my way home from work. It's such a relief to know that I wasn't the only one to be perturbed by the movie. And then Kevin commented back, glad you didn't think my ranting was too out of line. And then I said, you're ranting? What about my porn references? And then Robin replies, haha, the ranting made me legit LOL. You guys are a crack up. And comparing Pinocchio's nose to Ron Jeremy, I'm no expert on his films, but I don't recall Ron Jeremy having branches and bird's nest anywhere near his junk.
Someone that can actually appreciate what we're doing here.
Someone that can actually knows what the hell humor is.
Anyway.
Honestly, when I do these shows now, and I've said this before, I am the type of person now that, just in general, when I record the show, because not that I'm aiming for, most extreme explicitness, but I'm just to the point now where I don't really give a fuck. I honestly don't. I'm sorry if that comes off blunt or arrogant. When I sit down to record a show, I no longer watch every single thing that I say, and I go for the funny.
Yes. And I don't cuss in real life, really. I mean, to be perfectly honest, my friends know this about me. I'm not someone that cusses ever. But when I'm doing a podcast, it's kind of, I guess, I feel like it's the environment and the atmosphere that I can kind of let loose and do whatever. I don't think I even cuss that much in the show until I get really pissed off about a show or a movie or whatever. But I definitely don't think I'm a pervert.
Yes.
I don't think any of us were perverts by making a one or two porn references in a Pinocchio show. Good Lord, dude. Get a grip.
Yeah, seriously. What the hell?
It's not like we're talking about sex every single podcast episode, because we never have.
No, we never have. Probably never will.
So, whatever, dude. You're a moron.
Yeah. So, anyways, this has been our rant on the iTunes Ranter. And now we're going to get into episode 82, which is our Cinderella franchise coverage. Yay!
And we'll try not to make any porn references.
I highly doubt that will not most likely happen.
Now that you brought that up, I'm going to make one every freaking episode. Yes.
So, on to ToonCast episode 82.
Hey, you're listening to ToonCast.
Take one wicked stepmother, two jealous stepsisters, one snobby housecat, one fairy godmother, and a bunch of mischievous mice. Then put them together, and what have you got?
Take a look at that!
It's Walt Disney's classic, Cinderella.
It's such a surprise!
It's the love story to end all love stories.
A wonderful dream come true.
But that's just the beginning of the fun. The music.
Cinderella, Cinderella, night and day. It's Cinderella. Make the fire, fix the breakfast, wash the dishes, do the mop.
The magic.
Bibbidi, bobbidi, boo!
Look at what she did.
And the excitement.
On the stroke of 12, the spell will be broken.
Wait! Please wait!
Walt Disney Pictures proudly presents a motion picture whose time has come again. And it's coming for Thanksgiving and Christmas.
Because even miracles take a little time.
Exclusively in theaters. Walt Disney's classic, Cinderella.
Hello and welcome to the 82nd episode of ToonCast, brought to you by the GeekCast Radio Network. I am your host, Dave, Joe, and Mike, and today I'm joined once again by Kevin Optimus Solo Thompson. Hello.
Hello.
And making her second GeekCast Radio Network appearance is Tara, aka Rising Star. Hello.
Hey.
How's it going?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Pretty good. Why don't you tell the ToonCast listeners about yourself?
Well, I am a broadcasting and film student at Centennial College. Just want to give a quick little shout out to all my friends at Centennial in Toronto, Ontario. And I'm a huge lover of like cartoons. I'm obsessed with them. I love them.
And she loves my website.
Yes. I love BehindTheVoiceActors.com. Go check it out.
Yes, and just to preface this whole episode, I am coming with you from like the fifth dimension today. Because I don't know how.
I'm going to talk about that.
I don't know how or why, but I'm somehow able to record tonight, even though I have no internet service. So.
Oh, wow.
That is impressive.
I just had a really, really weird thought.
Don't get us in trouble.
No. Have you guys ever seen Superman the Animated Series, Mxyzptlk episode?
Not that episode, but I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, Kevin's in the fifth dimension. That's all I'm gonna say. He's basically Mxyzptlk. So.
How do you say that again?
No. Today we're going to be going back into the Disney Vault and talking about the entire Cinderella franchise.
No comment.
And I want
franchise?
Well, first of all,
Cinderella franchise?
Well, we have to preface this because we've had. I'm in the mood to preface things today. But we've had this theme going throughout the entire ToonCast life, basically where Mike and I argue about sequels to animated movies. And my opinion has been since the first time it came up, which I have no idea what episode that was, that I am anti-animated sequels. And he said that I was going to be forced, and I basically told him I would never watch animated sequels, don't even give them a chance. And he said, well, you're going to have to when we do the Disney Spotlight, blah, blah, blah. And he said that, I had to watch all the sequels, starting with whatever movie was the first Disney movie that had sequels. So I've been breaking my rule and watching animated sequels.
You'll be all right.
I guess I survived.
It's not going to kill you.
I guess.
There are worse things that can kill you.
Yes.
I suppose.
You might lose a couple, an hour or two of your life that you won't get back, but...
Well, see, luckily I've decided that I can justify every time I watch a movie I haven't watched because I just can screen cap all the characters and add the title to BehindTheVoiceActors.com, so I'm killing two birds with one stone. Mm-hmm. And you guys can all go there because all three Cinderella movies are at BehindTheVoiceActors.com, full of cast of characters, voice actors, and everything.
Mm-hmm.
I did that just for Mike this week.
Yeah.
Nice.
Okay, so why don't we start with Cinderella, and Kevin can give us the history. Oh, wait, Kevin can't give us the history.
Yes, I can.
Shit. Can you, really?
Yeah.
All right, well, I figured you didn't have internet, so I figured you couldn't get the script.
Dude, you remember the This Week in Geek Jedi War battle that I had, right? I think through that I gained some type of special Jedi power, so I can do anything. Anyway, Cinderella is a 1950 American animated film produced by none other than Walt Disney, and it's based on the fairy tale Cinderella by Charles Perrault. I have no idea if I said that right. It is number 12 in the lineup for Walt Disney animated classic movies, and it was first released February 15th, 1950 by RKO Radio Pictures, who had done basically most of the Disney movies up to this point. Mike, what do you remember back in 1950 from Cinderella?
Smart ass.
Dumbass. Anyway.
Well,
just say yes, it is.
Shut up, asshat.
Okay.
Actually, this and one other film that we're going to be covering in the Disney Spotlight this time around actually were my first Disney VHSs back in the day. My Uncle Richard had gotten me Lady and the Tramp and Cinderella on the special, I don't know if it's a special edition, but they had the special packaging stuff. Mm-hmm. The special fold over.
I remember that. Yeah.
It wasn't a regular VHS cassette case.
Yeah, we get the point.
Yeah. I don't know. I liked this movie as a kid. It was okay. It was kind of silly. I don't know.
Yeah, it was kind of silly, but to me, I mean, it's part of a trilogy in my mind. I always think of these three movies in the same kind of realm because you have the movie that won't be mentioned, Disney's first animated movie, and you have Cinderella and you have Sleeping Beauty. And, those were the three that all had basically the straightforward Disney princess type fairy tale story that went on at the time. Mm-hmm. Which is totally different than everything until we come up to like Beauty and the Beast and Little Mermaid, where we have some more, kind of in the same genre, so to speak. So I remember I always put those three together, Sleeping Beauty, Cinderella, and that other one. And to me, this was always the one that I kind of liked most as a kid. I'm not going to necessarily say I like it better than Sleeping Beauty nowadays, but I liked the whole part of the fairy godmother turning the stuff into, the pumpkin and et cetera, all the stuff that it gets turned into in that scene. So I have fond memories of this. I didn't watch it all the time. It wasn't like some of the movies like Jungle Book or a few that we'll talk about in some upcoming episodes where I just watched them over and over and over again. But I did enjoy this as a kid. Tara, what are your general memories of Cinderella from your first time you watched it?
Well, the first time I watched it was like when I was probably around 4 or 5 years old, and funny thing is, I actually was pretty sick the first time I watched it, so it really cheered me up. I just remember it being like a really, kind of happy-go-lucky movie. It had a princess, so of course, being a little girl, I was attracted to that. Mm-hmm. And it was to me, it was like magic, just because it was probably one of the first Disney movies I watched. And then I got into Beauty and the Beast. But Cinderella was definitely one of my favorites growing up. I loved the storyline. I thought, even though the animation was older than what I got used to growing up, it was beautiful to me. I mean, it was beautifully done, and I think it's a classic, and it deserves to stay a classic.
Yeah, and it really wasn't creepy.
No, it wasn't creepy at all.
Compared to some of the other early Disney films that we've mentioned in this Disney Spotlight.
It doesn't get creepy till later on.
Yeah. I mean,
there's a couple of issues I have with this film, but I'll save those for when we get to the plot.
Yeah. We don't have a guy with a big long nose. We don't have 7 dwarfs. I mean, some of that stuff's a little bit creepy.
The only creepy thing in Cinderella was the stepmother with her evil green eyes. That one scene where the camera just zooms into her eyes.
It was almost a different type of creepy, though.
Yeah, it was really evil. We were really introduced to evil there.
Yeah, it was an evil kind of like the bad guys in the other Disney princess movies that we mentioned just previously. It's like it's creepy in a way that it was supposed to be creepy, not creepy in a way that was meant to be something else.
Well, you know that the evil stepmother is the reincarnation of Maleficent, right?
Yes. I learned that later on. I didn't know that until pretty recently. When I did some research on that, and I'm like, holy... That's where they got the inspiration for the stepmother from a demon witch. Yeah. Yeah. Hang on one second, guys.
And the same voice actor and everything in that. So.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, it was like I said, it's creepy, but not in. It's not creepy in the creepy way that the dwarfs or Pinocchio was. So.
Yeah. I find myself, as we're going back through these Disney films, and in later episodes Kevin will completely disagree with me on a certain movie, but I find myself drawing so many conclusions to other Disney films with these.
All the Disney films, I mean, you can do that in certain way, shape, or form. I mean, whether it be similar voices that are used, whether it be character designs that are reused, some of the music. Obviously, like when you get to Aladdin and Lion King and Little Mermaid, obviously the same people are doing the music on all those. Yeah. So they're going to have certain things in common. But, yeah, I mean, Disney, but that's one thing that makes the Disney classics is they all have that Disney feel. They all have something that ties it to another movie or that ties the whole franchise together.
That is true.
Exactly.
And, yeah, we won't talk about your comparisons until another episode.
I'm telling you, that hen is Louie.
Yep.
Anyway, moving into the characters and voice actors, we have Eileen Woods as Cinderella, Eleanor Audley as Lady Tremaine, Louise Van Rotten, or Rooten as...
Rooten.
Whatever. I don't know. Rooten, Rotten, whatever. Grand Duke and the King. Jimmy McDonald is Jack and Gus and Bruno. Just really an overall great voice cast. No one that I really recognize.
Oh, you bastard child. Hold on.
Probably
Let
won't
the expert.
recognize them because they're probably gone.
Yeah, let the expert on Disney voice actors, because yes, I am an expert on that. I don't care about being arrogant in this point. Because I've done so much research on all the Disney movies. Jimmy McDonald, or James McDonald, however you want to call him, he was a genius back in the day as far as Disney goes, and he was used in so many different movies. If I had the internet, I would tell you from behind the voice actors which Disney movies he was in. But I just recently did a top 10 of just Disney film voice actors. Jimmy McDonald is on there, and then going down the list a little bit, Verna Felton, who is the fairy godmother in this, she did a ton of different Disney roles, from her elephant roles in Jungle Book and Dumbo. She did a lot of stuff. Lucille Bliss is not on my list, but she did a lot of stuff. June Foray, and she was kind of like Frank Welker in a way that they both show up in a ton of Disney movies, but not necessarily as any like main roles or main characters. They're usually animals or, some type of little side noise type character, but they show up a lot. And Eleanor Audley, like we said, as Maleficent and Lady Tremaine. So this is a pretty good cast, and you'll see, James McDonald and Verna Felton again as you go through other Disney movies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what I meant was, when I said a whole bunch of other people that we probably wouldn't recognize outside of June Foray, I mean, really, as far as, like, just seeing their names.
Right. No, current people won't. If Disney people would recognize Audley, McDonald, Lucille Bliss, Verna Felton, and June Foray.
Yeah.
But it's a great voice cast.
It is.
It definitely is a good voice cast.
Yeah, and then they do a pretty good job. Obviously, we're going to see a whole new voice cast when we get to the next part of this episode, and maybe we'll do some discussing then about some of the replacements or changes between voices.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's a lot of
just saying, yeah, jackass.
Yeah, there's a lot of changes. What else do we... why don't we pick favorite characters? Tara, you can go first.
Definitely Cinderella. Ironically, I will pick the movie title character.
I see like that a lot, don't worry.
Do you have a least favorite, Tara?
Least favorite? Oh, definitely, oh my god, the stepsisters.
Yeah, I agree.
Oh, they're so annoying.
Yeah,
Does anybody else want to smack them besides me, or...
I think everybody wants to do some bodily damage to them, whether it be smacking or killing, I don't know.
What about you, Kev?
Well, I dislike one of the stepsisters a little more than the other, though. I really can't stand Drizella.
Oh.
I mean, I can't stand Anastasia either, but Drizella's even worse for me. I don't know why or what it is about her, but she's definitely my least favorite character. My favorite character has got to be Gus, which is real close to Jack or Jacques or however you want to say it, but
it's Jack. I hate the way they spell it, but the way that they say it in the movie, it's Jack.
Well, a couple times they say it with a
Jacques.
Yeah, a couple times they do say that. But the two mice are my favorite characters by far. I love, especially Gus, the little chubby little mouse. He's kind of cool.
They're so cute.
Yeah. But yeah, I like the mice even a little bit more than I like Cinderella. What about you, Mike?
I agree.
I'm going to stop asking you questions. You just say yes or I agree.
I agree. No, I like Jack, probably Jack and Gus the best, because they're the ones that pretty much do all the work, and they're the ones that are the comedy relief.
Yeah. I also don't like Grand Duke either.
No.
I don't know why. He just seems like a dumbass.
Yes, he is. He's a big dumbass.
Is it just me, or is this the same animation model that they used on the king in Sword in the Stone, King Philip? Or not King Philip.
It's the same.
I was gonna say, the big fat round king in Sword in the Stone, Hector.
Yeah, comparing it to this king.
No.
They look exactly the same.
No, not Sword in the Stone. Sleeping Beauty.
Yeah, Sleeping Beauty.
That's what I was thinking of. Yeah. Yeah, the animation model is the same as far as Cinderella and Sleeping Beauty as far as the two kings.
Well, it makes you think, are they related somehow?
That would be interesting.
Definitely.
Plot twist.
That's the truth.
Behind the scenes of Disney.
Yes. I guess we can get into the behind-the-scenes segment. Nice segue there, Kevin. Great. I honestly don't recognize any of them. Normally when we do ToonCast, we'll talk about the directors and writers, but honestly, I don't recognize any of these guys.
Well, if you have any of these Disney movies on DVD, which is any of these old classics from like the ones they did in the 40s, 50s era, I don't know exactly which ones to point you to, but I know on multiple ones of those DVDs, and I'm talking about like the last edition that came out, which was the was that the Platinum or the?
Mm-hmm. It was the Platinum.
Yeah, a lot of those have special features that discuss the history of the production. And you will get some insight into the writers, because obviously certain writers were used repeatedly, and the amount of influence Disney either had or did not have on some particular films. Bill Peet is a name I recognize from one of those special features. I don't necessarily recognize the other ones, but they're really kind of fun to listen to. So if you have any of the DVDs, look at your special features, and you know, I don't know which movies have them, but some of them have some really good writing and production credit, like special features. Yeah.
So, made on the cusp of between the golden age Disney animations of the 1930s and 40s and the less critically acclaimed productions of the 50s, Cinderella is representative of both eras. Cinderella was the first full-bodied feature produced by the studio since Bambi in 1942. Wow. Well, of course, you know, there's a war in between those years.
Well, and this explains a lot, because a lot of people, when they try to list, like if you were trying to list off Disney classic movies, or the ones that are technically part of what they call Disney classics, you will not get the ones that were made basically in the war era. You'll go with, sorry, I have to say, you'll go Snow White, you'll say Dumbo or whatever, and you know, Pinocchio, Peter Pan, and you'll jump into like Cinderella and all them. You will completely skip over the 1940s movies, but it makes a lot of sense. Obviously, during the war era, they couldn't do a lot, so that's when you get the stuff like Fun and Fancy Free and Make Mine Music and the three Caballeros.
Three Caballeros.
You know, that's when all these lesser-known Disney films were made, was in that war period. And then now that the war is over, we start with Cinderella and we get back into the swing of things. I never knew that growing up, and I was always like, what were these dumb movies that were made in the 40s? But now, you know, looking back, it makes sense. Because nobody ever lists those. Nobody knows those movies.
That's true. Because
nobody knows Fun and Fancy Free.
Well, no one cared. Well, of course, because when they came out.
Yeah,
it's
but I mean,
war.
and it's obviously had a long-lasting effect. Not only that it came out during the war, but because it, you know, was done in a different manner, nobody knows them now either. Or unless you're like a real big Disney nut, then maybe you've seen them.
Yeah, or you have family from that time period and they remember it.
Yeah,
but I definitely never was exposed to those movies when I was a kid.
Yeah, no, me either.
They weren't even widely available, I don't think.
No.
Even growing up.
So it's almost like a little pocket in the Disney classics that really shouldn't probably be Disney classics, but they're usually included.
Go figure.
Yes, go figure. What other behind-the-scenes stuff do we want to impart on the listeners?
Basically, there was just some stuff that was changed. I mean, the Prince had a much larger role in the beginning, but Disney is famous for being very particular about his stuff. You know, he'll watch things over, and if he doesn't like things, he makes them change it. So there's songs that were deleted. You know, there's sequences that were deleted, and that's why the Disney movies are fascinating if you are, really into movies or really into animation. If you want to learn some interesting stuff, go into behind-the-scenes stuff for Disney movies, and you will learn a whole lot of stuff. I mean, it's just interesting stuff about what was changed and the influence certain people had. I was watching one the other day on YouTube that was like a behind-the-scenes on The Jungle Book, because I needed one of the writers because he ended up voicing one of the characters, and he basically doesn't have any pictures available anywhere. So I was combing through the special features on the DVD to find a picture of him when they interviewed him, and I was just getting swept away. I wasn't intending to watch the whole thing, but I ended up watching almost the whole thing because the stuff they were talking about was so interesting about the different things Disney would do during the production of a movie. So, I mean, we can't go into all of it, but I would say if you're interested in this type of stuff, find those DVDs and look at the special features.
Yep. So, let's see. Bibbidi Bobbidi Boo became a hit signal 4 times, with notable versions by Perry Como And the Fontaine sisters, Eileen Woods, beat exactly 309 girls for the part of Cinderella after some demo recordings of her singing a few of the film's songs were presented to Walt Disney. So that's impressive for that time period.
Mm-hmm.
That's really impressive.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and the interesting part about that is those recordings were sent into Disney by her friends without her knowledge.
Oh, jeez.
So she didn't even know that they were being sent in, and then she ends up getting the voice.
Wow.
So that's a pretty cool story for her.
Luck of the draw, I guess.
Yeah, most people nowadays obviously would kill for that type of chance. Yes. And, she better have paid those friends back somehow.
I would. I'd be like, hey, drinks on me.
Nice twist of fate for her.
Yeah, no, we'll get into twists a little bit later in the show.
Yeah,
so, Kevin, getting into the actual show, why don't you give us the plot synopsis here?
Oh, goodness. All right. Cinderella is basically the only child of a widowed aristocrat. Aristocrat, that's a different episode.
I knew you were going to do that, too.
Basically, she's left under the watch of her stepmother, Lady Tremaine, and their stepsisters, Anastasia and Drizella. So they're a bunch of haughty-taughty, annoying pieces of crap, and she's in their care. She befriends the mice, of course, Jock and Gus. To make a long story short, fairy godmother comes in, gives her this magical power to go to the ball, which she had been denied by the stepmother and stepsisters. So they dress her all up, take her in the carriage. She goes to meet Prince Charming. They fall in love basically at first touch, first sight, all that other nonsense. But at midnight, she's going to turn back into her regular self, as is her carriage and all that other stuff. So she has to run off, leaves her shoe behind. Prince picks it up, goes searching for the person that will fit the shoe, eventually finds Cinderella because it won't fit the stepsisters or anybody else, and learns that Cinderella was the real person. They get married. Basically, everybody lives happily ever after until the sequels.
There's one problem I have with this film. This stupid-ass Grand Duke, on the orders of the prince, went around to every single female in the kingdom to have them try on this slipper.
Yep.
Hello, can you say athlete's foot, anybody?
Oh.
It's glass slipper.
It's a glass slipper.
Whatever.
It doesn't carry athlete's foot.
I guess they didn't care about germs back then.
It's a much different time.
Doesn't matter. There's still foot fungus around.
They cleaned. You didn't see the little thing of Purell that he carried in his back pocket that he used in between every trying on?
I'm sure he did.
He spread it with his little monocle there.
Yeah, between every fitting, he sprayed it and then looked through his monocle to make sure there was no germs, and then he went on to the next house.
Yeah, that's
half Purell back then.
That's pitching it, Kevin.
There was only 3 girls in the kingdom. It wasn't that big a deal. He only had to go to one house. But it basically has a little bit of everything, especially for the female audience. I mean, this is obviously your fairy tale story where, the unexpected girl that doesn't have anything or whatever gets, turned into the princess, meets the prince, everything works out like you had in your head. You have some magic with the fairy godmother. You have the villains, even though it's not like a scary, monster. It's just like a regular person. So in that fact, I guess your villain's a little bit more easy to relate to. But, it has the mice to give you some humor. So you got romance, humor, and magic. I mean, you can't really go too wrong with that. Although they do later on.
Yeah. No, I'm sorry. I'm looking at some of the trivia.
Mike's never paying attention, just for the record.
Shut up. I'm looking at some
Mike.
That's why every time we ask him a question, he's like, what? I'm not paying attention.
Yeah. Overall, this is not, like Kevin said earlier, some of the bad films that we've covered. This is by no means bad. I didn't really see anything in this film as far as, whereas in episode 29 of ToonCast, which I encourage everybody to go back and listen to that rant fest, episode 29, it's like, holy crap, there's no adults around, where this one, there's almost too many adults around.
There's really no kids involved in this whole movie.
Nope.
Yeah, nope.
I mean, I guess I never really thought about that. I mean, I guess the mice are kind of kids, but you really have a whole movie that's full of adult characters, and that seems like something rare to put out a movie for kids that has no kids in it.
And magical mice.
Yeah.
Is it ever said how old Cinderella is? Is it ever written anywhere how old she is?
I don't believe so. I don't know if they reference it in any of the sequels or not, but I don't ever recall seeing an age for her.
I don't think it's been like official, but I do remember, like, I do recall reading something that said she was probably like in her like early 20s.
Okay, that makes sense.
Something like that. Yeah, she wasn't too young, she wasn't too old.
Right.
But like she was a young woman, I guess, if you want to call her that.
Yeah. What about some of your guys' favorite or least favorite parts of the movie? Mike, do you have a favorite part or a favorite sequence or anything like that?
Pretty much anything with the mice.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, this is how mice are done right, other than, you know, another movie that I cannot stand that has to do with Pixar and rats.
Is that Ratatouille?
That's a great movie.
I hate that movie. I hate that movie. But anyway, to digress.
There's other movies with good mice.
Well, yeah, but Ratatouille
American Tail's great. That's mice, isn't it?
Well, Ratatouille is not one of them, though. That's my point.
No.
Yeah.
But Fievel's cool.
Yeah, Fievel's alright.
Okay.
Thought
you were dissing my boy Fievel, and I couldn't stand for that.
Whatever.
So you like all the mice?
So damn it, I'll hate who I want to hate.
So yeah, control freak. You like all the mice. Do you have like least favorite scenes or anything?
Probably anything with the stepsisters.
Way to be specific.
No, seriously, anything you do, like that whole singing scene when Cinderella's down there mopping the floor and they're up doing practicing. Oh my god, it's like friggin' nails on a chalkboard. Oh god.
I have to agree with that.
So what about you? What about your favorite scene, Tara? Do you have a favorite scene or a favorite moment?
I definitely do. I think it's probably when the prince and Cinderella are off on their own and they're dancing and just, you know, that scene was just done so well in terms of you could see that they liked each other and that they were falling in love with each other. It was so beautiful and it was done so right.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, and you as an audience, you really connect to that. And as for least favorite scene, I'm going to have to say it's the part where Cinderella comes down in that dress, you know, the mice had worked all night making for her. Lucky her. And and they just go on a huge bitch fest and ruin it.
Yeah, I hate that scene.
That was an awful scene because...
That was traumatic.
Because they were just, they threw out all that crap they didn't want, and then the mice, you know, pick it up and put it on her dress, and then when they see, you know, oh, our stepsister looks pretty, you know, prettier than us with our stuff on, we have to take it back. So, that was a bitchy scene in my opinion. I did not like that.
I agree with you 100%. That would definitely be my least favorite scene because I felt, you know, being the mice lover that I am in this movie, I hated that all their work was kind of, your heart just was like sunk for them when that happened. So that's definitely my least favorite. I think my favorite scene is when the fairy godmother turns everything into the stuff that it gets turned into for the ball. You know, whether it be Cinderella and, you know, the pumpkin and the whatever, all the other different characters or the objects that are turned into something else. I really liked seeing that because up to that point you hadn't... I mean, this was the big part where the magic was involved, and I kind of like that.
Yeah. So getting into some trivia here.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a bunch of Mickey Mouse references throughout this film. Actually, there's two specific ones. When Cinderella is singing Sing Sweet Nightingale, 3 bubbles form the head and ears of Mickey.
I forgot to watch that when I rewatched it.
I did not catch that.
I gotta go back and now watch her sing that song and see if I can find the bubbles. The Mickey Mouse bubbles. So back in the day, they did innocent Mickey Mouse stuff, and it's not until later on where we have the so-called, whatever you want to call it.
Product placement?
No, the stuff that's not necessarily true, but people like to say.
Oh.
The rumors?
Yeah, you mean like
sexual and
when sex is spelled in the dust in Lion King?
In Lion King.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Oh my god.
It is. It so is.
And apparently he whispers something on the balcony inappropriate. Oh, jeez.
All that stuff, half of which is not true. But anyways,
it's true.
No, it's not. But back in the day, we had innocent Mickey Mouse and Goofy things.
Yeah, I absolutely love the Goofy holler. That was hilarious.
I gotta watch for that again too.
See.
I heard that. I remember that.
I put this in. I forgot about the trivia when I was going back and watching it. I
remember the Goofy holler.
You remembered it when you watched? Did you know to listen for it, or did you just hear it and like?
I heard it, and I'm like, Goofy, what are you doing in Cinderella?
That's awesome. I did not realize, but I find it kind of interesting that this whole the term Prince Charming has become part of our everyday, vocabulary.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm surprised if it doesn't have an actual like entry in a dictionary somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
But I did not realize that kind of came out of nowhere because it's never said in the film.
Yeah, his name is never actually mentioned.
Never.
Nowhere do they ever say Prince Charming, but he just becomes known as Prince Charming, and now it's just like, the rest is history as far as how people use it.
Or he's known as the Prince, right?
Right. But I find that pretty interesting.
The carriage that Cinderella and the Prince take after the wedding has an emblem of a sword and 2 hidden Mickey Mouse heads around it.
Ah, yes. Another Mickey Mouse thing to find. And this was also
Mickey.
Yeah, and this is also the first film to be worked on by the legendary 9 old men of the Disney Animation Department, and they were geniuses, and they did quite a few films, and this is the first one. So if you're a Disney aficionado, you probably know who the 9 old men are. I couldn't name them for you, though, so don't ask me. But they do good work.
Yes, they do. Moving into the music segment, I guess. I don't quite mind the songs in this like I do some of the other Disney films. They're not as blatant, I think, in this one. They actually tell the story.
Yeah.
Rather than just insert musical number here.
Yeah, it's kind of in the middle for me. I mean, it doesn't have like the fantastic music that we get from some other of the Disney classics, but it's better than some of them, so it's kind of in that middle ground. I mean, it doesn't have that, like, I know A Dream is a Wish Your Heart Makes is the song for this movie, and probably second is I don't know, Bibbidi Bobbidi Boo. But those songs are good, but they don't, I mean, you can't even compare it with the episode we did, our last episode where we had When You Wish Upon a Star. I mean, to me, that's a better song than any one of these songs is.
I would say that, and, A Dream is a Wish That Your Heart. I would say that the 2 main songs from both the films are about evenly parred, I think.
Yeah, they're beautiful. I mean, they're memorable.
Yeah. The difference between this and what will come later, though, is back here you had usually, like, one really great song and then some, like, secondary songs, whereas when we get into, like, the 90s or the late 80s, you had, like, 5 or 6 good songs per movie.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, I mean, you can't compare it to some of the later stuff, but it was still good. And like I said, it's better than some of the music we'll have in, like, well, I don't want to name any names, but when we get to the episodes, I'll talk about it. But, A Dream is
he knows if he names them, I will punch him over with the bus.
A Dream is a Wish Your Heart Makes is a great song, though.
Yes. Getting into the legacy segment for Cinderella, apparently this was the first huge hit since that movie that shall not be named. Wow.
Yeah, because the other ones kind of flopped a little bit. The second and... I mean, obviously, all the ones during the World Wars were not going to make them a lot of money, or World War II, I mean. And even their other couple, like, second and third big movies were kind of flops. I mean, they were somewhat in trouble, actually, when it came for the making of Cinderella. And if it had not made it, this might have been the end of Disney, actually.
They would have been screwed.
Yeah, I mean, we might have had nothing else Disney. It would have been just what we had up through this point, and that would have sucked big time.
Yeah.
So thank God that this film at least kept them afloat.
Yes. And as far as some of the awards for this one, the film received 3 Academy Award nominations for Best Sound, Original Music Score, and Best Song for Bibbidi Bobbidi Boo. At the first Berlin International Film Festival, it won the Golden Bear Music Film Award for the Big Bronze Plate Award. In June 2008, the American Film Institute revealed its 10 top 10, the best 10 films in 10 classic American film genres. After polling over 1,500 people from the creative community, Cinderella was acknowledged as the 9th greatest film in the animation genre.
Which is good, although, like I said, with all these lists, the first movies always get the credit, so I don't know.
It deserves it, though.
This one deserves it, but...
This one deserves it.
No, this one deserves it, but the stuff ahead of it, Snow White and Pinocchio don't deserve to be ahead of it.
No. So as far as sequels and other media, the first direct-to-video sequel, Cinderella 2, Dreams Come True, was released on February 26, 2002. A second direct-to-video sequel, Cinderella 3, A Twist in Time, was released on February 6, 2007. Cinderella and the Fairy Godmother have appeared as guests in Disney's House of Mouse, Kingdom Hearts, Birth by Sleep. All the main characters, sans Gus, Major, and the King appear. A live-action adaptation is planned and rumored to star Amanda Seyfried.
I did not know they were trying to do a live-action adaptation of this.
Oh, wow. That's news to me.
Well,
I don't know if it's still in...
Yeah, that's the other thing. I don't know if it's still in production. So I guess we'll move on to the next movie, which you're going to hear the trailer for right now.
It was the moment that changed her life forever, taking her to a place she'd never been, to a life she dared only dream about. Discover what comes after Happily Ever After, as Walt Disney's most enchanting fairy tale continues. Cinderella 2, Dreams Come True, Special Edition. Finally releasing from the Disney Vault for a limited time.
I think we're going to be great friends.
Jacques, Gus, and all your favorite characters return in 3 magical tales.
Now this is more like it.
Including an all-new game. The magic lives on.
Someday I'll get this princess thing right.
I think that day is today.
Cinderella 2, Dreams Come True. Complete your Cinderella collection with this special edition release. Coming soon to Disney DVD. For a limited time.
So up next is Cinderella 2, Dreams Come True. Kevin, take it away with the history lesson.
Not much for a history lesson here. I mean, like we said in the previous segment, this is basically the first sequel to Cinderella, hence it being called Cinderella 2. And it was a direct-to-video. I mean, this isn't something that was in the theater or whatever. It came out in 2002 in February. And this one's interesting because it's not really one movie. It is 3 short movies combined and mashed up into one and called one movie. But we'll get more into that a little bit later. What are your general thoughts on Cinderella 2, Dreams Come True, Mike?
What movie is this? Seriously, I did not know at all that Disney had started doing sequels at this point in 2002. I wasn't paying attention to Disney animation back then. I had seen like a brief little trailer about it, but I didn't really pay any attention to it. I'm like, wait, what? The movie doesn't have a sequel. But I had never seen this until probably, I don't know, 4 years ago.
And what were your general thoughts when you saw it?
It was okay.
It's like pulling teeth around here, people.
Shut up, Kevin. It was alright. It wasn't like the worst thing that they've done, but it wasn't like, oh my god, this is amazing.
Yeah. I don't know. I just don't get it. I don't get what the theory was behind this. I don't understand. Like, they're like...
I think the thing with Disney and starting this whole direct-to-video sequel thing when they started, I think the point was, everybody wanted to know, oh, well, they lived happily ever after, but how did they live happily ever after? People wanted to see the aftermath of those first films, and that's why Disney went in and made the sequels to stuff.
Well, I get that, and like even as a kid, when I saw like let's say Little Mermaid or like Aladdin or something, when I saw that, I was like, when the movie gets over, I definitely wanted to see more. I'm like, wait a second, I want to see more. I'm not done with these characters yet. I like them. I get that part. I also get the part that they're witnessing things like what Land Before Time is doing at the time, which is making a shit ton of money by producing a movie every year or every other year. You know, I don't know exactly when Scooby-Doo started doing it, but they're seeing other models out, you know, in the world doing the direct-to-DVD, you know, production-a-thon, I guess is whatever you want to call it, where they come out with something every 6 months or every year and they make money off of it, and Disney wants to be a part of that too, and what better way than to tell sequels of all these classic films. I get that part. What I don't get is, why do we have 3 20-minute stories in one movie?
Oh, geez.
I don't know.
I don't get that. Like,
I don't get it either.
You couldn't come up with one story? Like, I thought it was cool how they introduced it, and, like, I think it's cool, like, oh, you know, the mice are in, you know, making the book or whatever, and they want to tell a story, and that leads us into the story, but then have an actual movie.
It was just a fail.
It was like 3 little snippets of nothingness.
They were, you know what, when I heard there was going to be a Cinderella sequel, you know, I was excited. Mm-hmm. And then I saw it in, you know, in the video stores when they were playing it, and I'm like, wait a second, this is the sequel to Cinderella? This can't be the sequel. And then I see, okay, it's not a movie, it's 3 episodes. And we all know
was it you that was saying to me off air or something that originally it was a plan for like something else?
I'm pretty sure, you know, just by I was doing some research on this, I'm pretty sure they were planning a Cinderella cartoon show.
And it didn't work, so they decided to take
not work. Yeah,
3 stories and smash them in.
That's, and it's a common theme, and you see this later on with other Disney sequels. You see the same thing, you know, with Aladdin, exact same thing. Aladdin's sequels were TV episodes; they were not actual movies.
I disagree with that.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
No, because no, I mean it's nothing hostile or anything. I can see where this being 3 separate stories in a sequel film was supposed to be for television, but honestly, Return of Jafar and King of Thieves, those are 2 direct-to-video movies that have one overarching story each.
Well, it still could have been a TV series, like a plot for a TV episode that got turned into a movie.
Oh, true.
That could be it. That could be true, but it's not like Cinderella 2, what we have here, where it's 3 separate stories, like you guys said.
They didn't even take. It's not like they could have taken one of these stories and made it into a whole movie. Yeah. It's not like the stories are that bad. Each one of the 3 stories could have potentially been made into something better and bigger.
They were kind of just coughed out, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's like they spent no time whatsoever, and they're just like, oh, well, it's good enough, put it out there. I just don't get it.
And they were just bad.
Yeah, nothing special in any of them. Like, they all had potential, and they all went nowhere, and then it was on to the next story.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? And also, in terms of, you know, the character development between the first and the second, it's different. It's a different Cinderella. We're not seeing the same one we got introduced to.
Yeah.
She's different.
Well, the other thing about this is this movie was made, you know, like, what is it, 50 years after the fact?
Yeah, 1950, yeah.
So, I mean, I seriously doubt Eileen Woods, or whatever her name was, I seriously doubt that she was still around voice acting.
No, but it's just like, even between the little story parts, though, within this movie, the characters are different.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, like, I know. Not about the voice acting. I mean, I'm just saying in terms of the character herself.
Yeah.
Yeah. And even between, it's not only between the first Cinderella movie and this movie, it's between part 1 of this movie, part 2, and part 3. It's different people, it seems like, in certain ways. I mean, obviously it's the same look and the same voice actor and all that type of stuff, but it just doesn't, bad. Bad. But since we mentioned voice actors, just kind of going down the list, obviously there's a whole new voice cast.
Yeah.
Because none of the other people are still active. They're, number one, most of them aren't alive anymore. But if they are alive, they're not usually active in voice acting. I mean, June Foray was in the first one. She's still around, but not as active in 2002 as she was obviously back then. But very famous voice cast here. Jennifer Hale as Cinderella. Jennifer Hale did a ton of stuff over the last couple of decades. Depends on how you want to call him, C.D. Barnes or Christopher Daniel Barnes as Prince Charming. My boy, Rob Paulsen as Jacques Grand Duke, the baker, Sir Hugh, Bert, flower vendor, and probably some other people. Corey Burton as Gus. Holland Taylor, who I'm not real familiar with, as Prudence. Frank Welker as all the cats and dogs. Chess McNeil as Anastasia, and then Russie Taylor as Fairy Godmother, Drizella, Mary Mouse, Beatrice, and Daphne, and Suzanne Blakesley as Lady Tremaine. So it's an entire new cast, and before I let you guys comment on anything, I usually don't say this because I like both of these individuals, but I did not care for Chess McNeil as Anastasia, and I did not care for Jennifer Hale as Cinderella.
I disagree.
I just didn't. The voices to me, I love Tress McNeil, and she does a great voice, but it did not fit Anastasia's character, look, or design for me, and the same with Jennifer Hale. You guys can disagree, but to me it just sounded
I'm on the fence. I have to admit, I'm on the fence.
Like, Rob Paulsen sounded perfect as Jacques, and Corey Burton sounded perfect as Gus. And even Lady Tremaine and the Fairy Godmother and those people sounded perfect. But for me, when I'm looking at the character of Anastasia or Cinderella and then I hear the voice, it's like it was a disconnect for me.
Different person. Yeah. Actually, you know what? With Cinderella, I will agree with you to a point.
Mm-hmm.
There was just one scene, if we can just go to a scene with Jennifer Hale in that movie, when she's taking off, the clothes, the ugly princess clothes. She says something that really, you think Cinderella wouldn't say. She kind of goes Valley Girl on you.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, and this dress, ew, like that. And that's what did it for me. That's what kind of disconnected me from Cinderella in this movie, was just that voice acting right there.
Yeah. And I'm sorry, Mike, but Tress McNeil sounded exactly like so many of her other characters that she's done in the past when she did Anastasia, and that's not how I picture Anastasia sounding.
Well, I mean,
I know you love her.
Well, no, I don't actually. But, the whole point of this film is, especially in Anastasia's case, is she's not the same. She's not the same character. She is the same name and same look and everything else. But as far as Anastasia's character traits in this, she's not really the greedy stepsister anymore. She kind of is, but she really isn't. And I think Tress's voice fit with that, whether it sounded like any of her other characters. At least Tress gave her some sort of sympathetic stuff. As far as Jennifer Hale as Cinderella,
all I could hear was Gadget from Chippendales, or Gadget, whatever it was, from Chippendale Rescue Ranger. That's all I could hear the entire time. As for Jennifer Hale, what were you saying?
I was going to say, as far as Jennifer Hale goes, I kind of prefer her over the original voice actress because, I don't know, it seems like her voice fits Cinderella a little bit more to me. But when I first looked at it was after Kevin had sent me the script, and I first looked at who voiced Cinderella and Prince Charming, I was like, oh, hey, I wonder when Prince Charming is going to don a Spider-Man suit and Cinderella is going to become Black Cat.
Oh,
because Christopher Daniel Barnes voiced Spider-Man in 1994 Spider-Man, and Jennifer Hale was Black Cat / Felicia Hardy.
Yeah. Well, and for you mentioned, which one you prefer over the other, and that's kind of what we're talking about. So I can give another shameless plug just because we've already done the work. But if you want to vote on which version, no, we already did the work for it, and we have voice compares up for Lady Tremaine. We have voice compares up for Cinderella, and at least one other Cinderella character. I just can't remember which one. So if you want to go listen to the original and the current versions back to back and vote on your favorite, go to BehindTheVoiceActors.com, click on voice compare, and there's a Cinderella section. My shameless plug is over. Continue.
Check them out.
I didn't, as much as I like Rob Paulsen,
don't you dare.
His Jack just didn't.
His Jack is perfect.
No, it's not perfect because it's not what Jimmy did. It sounds so close, but there's just something that it isn't. It isn't the same.
I liked it though.
Different. It is different.
It is different, and I liked it. So I'll vote for Rob Paulsen, and you can vote for Jennifer Hale and Tress McNeil.
I preferred Paulsen as Grand Duke, though.
Yeah. I thought he did a good job of sounding like completely different people through all the different characters he voiced in this.
That's a talent right there.
So now we have 3 different stories going on. So we have a plethora of characters compared to the first movie. So let's see if our opinions have changed. Mike, who's your favorite character out of the whole, I guess we can call it, second movie? Mine's no longer the same as it was before.
They didn't see the problem with this movie is because the mice are telling the story. The mice really didn't get a whole lot of action. There wasn't a whole lot of comedy for the mice. So, honestly, I think my favorite character is Cinderella in this one.
Interesting. How about you, Tara?
Same thing. Same with Cinderella. Even though she has a Valley Girl moment, I still like her.
I switched to, just like Mike, I'm not going with the mice anymore because I liked the mice much better in the first movie than the second movie. Yeah. My favorite in this one's actually going to be Prince Charming. I know that kind of seems weird because he doesn't usually get a lot of attention or whatnot, but I really liked him in one of the parts. I don't remember which of the 3 parts it was. But I don't know. I didn't like most of the characters in here. Obviously, I don't like any of the stepsisters that when they get involved. I don't like the Lady Tremaine, and I absolutely despise Prudence.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't.
Prudence. Oh.
Yeah, and Beatrice and Daphne are annoying. I did like the addition of Mary Mouse, but I don't know. I think I'm going to go with the Prince.
Oh.
Just because I like the Prince slightly better than Cinderella.
Well, Mary Mouse, she was in the first one, so I mean, technically there is continuity between the first one and this one because of the fact that, even though I don't think she had a name in the first one, but she
I guess I meant
were
like
kind of friends, and I don't know.
Yeah. What about your least favorite character, Mike?
It's still Drizella and the stepmother. I mean, I respect for them as far as how evil they are, but I didn't really care for Lucifer / Pom Pom because I don't even think Lucifer was in this. I don't ever.
Yeah.
Actually, he is.
Yeah.
He is.
You're wrong. Tara, you still least favorite still the sisters?
No, actually, it's changed. For this film, it is definitely Prudence.
Yeah.
Oh man, I do not like her.
Yeah.
First of all, I just hate people that are like her, so it was very easy for me to hate her.
Well, she's a snob, right? She's a snob.
Stuck up snobby prude that won't even let the windows be open. I was just like, God, somebody strangle her. But
yes,
to me, I just think in that film, I didn't really see a purpose for her. I guess I just thought she was just there, just to give Cinderella a hard time, obviously, but otherwise, she was annoying.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of understood because if it's going in the future as to like her first time at the castle, someone has to kind of show her way or whatever. But it does seem like, we don't want to put Anastasia, Gisela, and Lady Tremaine in this first part, so we need another character to basically be the same person. Mm-hmm. I mean, because it's almost like she was Lady Tremaine in a different name and a different outfit and different look, but she's playing the same part.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess they didn't want to put the sisters in right away, but then they put them in the third part, so it's like, I don't know.
It was odd. It was odd.
Now we have 4 stuck-up snobs.
Well, you are in a castle, right? So
yeah, that's true.
So getting into the writers and the behind-the-scenes stuff, again, don't recognize anybody.
No, and I don't recognize any of these people either. Obviously, we don't have any of the famous Disney people because other people were involved in these. I don't know much about the behind the scenes as far as what went into this. I don't know if there's stuff available on the DVD or not, but it was directed by some people and it was written by some people, and that's about it.
So, quick plot summary in the actual show here.
Good Lord. All right. The mice get together and they want to give a book to Cinderella. So they come up with this whole book thing, but then they need a story, so then they start writing it, and the first story we get is Aim to Please, which is basically the story of Cinderella after she has been brought into the castle. Obviously, she's married to the prince at this time. Prince and king go away, and she has to plan a banquet. She is blessed with the presence of Prudence to guide her as far as what needs to be done, except for she disagrees with everything Prudence is having her do. So eventually she's fed up, and she does things her own way. Prudence has a cow. King and Prince come back. King seems to like he's starting to have a cow, but then he loves everything, so then everything's good. They dance. Prudence is dancing with the Grand Duke, I think, and basically everything's happily ever after, and then we have a transition into a second story 20 minutes into the movie. In the second one, it's called Tall Tale, And this is all about Jack, who thinks he's too small to help Cinderella. Fairy godmother turns him into a person who is mistaken for Sir Hugh. And it basically just goes throughout the thing, kind of teaching Jack a lesson that, as a mouse, he was good enough. He didn't need to be a human like he thought he did to be able to help Cinderella out. And that's all I'm going to say about that one. We switch into the third one.
Now, first of all, before you start the third one, I have to say, I absolutely hated the second story.
Oh, God.
That was just so friggin' stupid. I think
It was bad.
that if they had taken the first story and this third story that Kevin's about to give us the plot for and just stuck them end on end, that would have been a fine movie, and just cut the second story cut the whole story bit out of the mice writing the book story stuff. Just start with that first plot and then tie it into this third story.
I agree with you on that.
I agree to you to a point. I'll explain a little bit more right after I say this. But, the third one was the uncommon romance, and this one's all about Anastasia. Basically, Anastasia falls in love with a baker out in the streets, and Lady Tremaine will have nothing to do with this. So it's basically the whole story about how Anastasia is going to overcome the basically born on different sides of the track theme and get hooked up with a baker, and Cinderella helps her out a lot, and she basically ends up with the baker and falls in love, to make a short story short. And then basically we have the mice finishing the book, and then we get a little reprise of Bibbidi Bobbidi Boo, and gives it to Cinderella, end of movie. Now, my quick thoughts and reactions to this. I don't mind the mice introducing the individual stories by kind of writing their own book, if that was for a TV show. If this was a TV series, and every episode you had a little bit with the mice because they're kind of the best characters, or the funniest characters, and they introduce the story, and then we have a half-hour show, that would have been fine. But to have them introduce all the different segments within this movie, like Mike said, is not needed. The second story is absolutely terrible. I actually don't like the third story either. I think they could have taken the first story and made a whole movie out of it.
Just developed it more.
If they would have developed it more, put a lot more shit in there, and made it a little more complex, obviously, it was a fine story, because basically once you have the prince and the king leave, you're set back up. You don't need Prudence, first of all. I mean, if you want her there, she's fine. Otherwise, you could somehow insert Lady Tremaine and the stepsisters. Either way, whether you have Prudence or the group of three, you have them basically trying to take control back from Cinderella. You have her fighting her battle. Then the prince and the king come in at the end, and everything turns out well. That could have been a whole movie by itself. So whether, like Mike said, you just have the first and the third one, or you just take one of them and make them a movie, that's what they should have done, because breaking them into 15 or 20-minute segments is retarded.
Yeah, well, they had this material lying around, and like I said earlier, they had to put it out there.
Yeah. I just wish that either, number one, whatever they were hoping to do with the series would have got greenlit, and they could have used it like that, or they would have been smart enough to say, well, let's just use one part of what we have, and the other two don't necessarily have to be used. But, it's just terrible.
Facepalm.
Yeah, the music's okay, and like I said, they had bits and pieces that had potential, but it turns out when you do it this way, everything's okay and nothing's special. And with Disney, you can't have okay.
Yeah, you can't have okay.
No,
you need to have special.
There weren't really any musical segments in this film at all.
There was a few songs. I mean, it wasn't like big musical type things. I mean, like I said, they did the Bibbidi Bobbidi Boo at the end. They also had a something. I don't remember what the song was about, and I don't remember who sang it. I don't know if Cinderella sang it, but there was another song somewhere in there that I was like, it's an okay song, but
yeah, I think that's with the whole Lucifer segment. I think in the third part. With Anastasia, when they're doing the makeovers.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It's that scene, yeah.
And it was just like the music, like I said, it's just like the movie. It's okay. So if you're okay with stuff being okay, I guess maybe you would like the music and you would like this movie.
Yeah, this was like bordering on, if I had to give it a percentage, it'd probably be like around 50 or 60%, good for a movie.
Yeah, I mean, even someone diehard, I mean, you seem like someone that really likes Cinderella. And, even for diehard Cinderella fans, this is terrible.
It is. It's terrible.
So it's going to be especially terrible for people that are just casual Disney fans or animated fans.
They'll watch 5 minutes and then they'll turn it off.
Yeah, or as soon as it goes into a second story, they'll be like, what the hell am I watching?
Yeah.
I'm watching Jersey Shore. I'm not watching Cinderella.
Oh, damn. That's something I never thought we'd have in ToonCast. A goddamn Jersey Shore reference. Holy
This is so bad that people would probably turn to Jersey Shore. I will agree with that.
Wow.
Although I'd have to take a gun out before I did that. But.
Wow. Okay, so moving into the legacy segment here. Apparently, it was estimated to cost $5 million to produce Dreams Come True, Disney's top-selling animated sequel that year, grossing approximately $120 million in direct-to-DVD sales. But the film itself was met with a mainly mixed to negative response from fans and critics alike. Well, duh. Tara pointed out earlier off-air that it currently holds a rare 0% approval rating from top critics on Rotten Tomatoes.
Oh, God.
That's pretty hard.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, and like she said, many critics agree that it looked like a pieced-together remains of a rejected television series. So it's just god-awful. It was released to DVD, obviously. That's how it came out.
Yeah.
So it was released on a special edition in 2007. Don't know why. Good Lord. The film is currently in the Disney Vault where it should stay forever.
Please stay in the vault.
Yes. And as far as Kevin wanting like a really good special feature on this, as far as behind the scenes, no such luck. We have Race to the Royal Banquet Game, Musical Magic Featurette, Cinderella's Storybook, Cinderella's Enchanted Castle Activity, Put It Together music video by Brooke Allison, and deleted scenes.
Deleted scenes, which were probably an entire fourth story.
Yeah, entire fourth story.
Or probably the remains of number 1 and number 3.
Yeah, it's the rest of number 1 that they should have told.
Wow. Oh, man. This movie sucks.
This movie sucks, you know
this
what.
This movie is a failure, and it should stay in the vault forever, and I will be happy with that.
This movie, Mike, you are so lucky because that I agreed to watch the third one, because this movie, all it did was solidify my hate for animated series. It justified everything I've ever said about them.
You know, if you thought the second one was bad, wait till you get to number 3.
See, I don't really have that much of a problem with number 3. I actually liked it. So we're going to get to Cinderella 3, A Twist in Time's trailer right now.
What if Bippity Bobbity Boo, the magic was taken away?
Magic? How very interesting.
What if
Your Grace, please wait.
the slipper didn't fit?
I danced with the prince. That was my slipper.
Could the dream still come true?
You may have danced with him. You may even have thought it was love. But whatever you think happened last night was a dream. I call upon all the forces of the universe. Bibbidi, bobbidi, boo! Turn back tide and time. Unravel Cinderella's happily ever after.
Walt Disney Pictures presents Cinderella 3, A Twist in Time. Coming soon to Disney DVD.
And finally up today is Cinderella 3, A Twist in Time. Take it away with the history lesson, Kevin.
All right, like the second one, Cinderella 3, A Twist in Time is obviously a direct-to-video sequel to both Cinderella and Cinderella 2. And basically, it is a time travel story because it's a continuation of the original Cinderella rather than Cinderella 2. It kind of ignores Cinderella 2 and goes back to before Cinderella, or during Cinderella, and kind of changes some things, basically. We'll get into that a little bit later. But the film was released on February of 2007. It was rated G. Came right out to direct DVD. Do you remember this one? I know you said, Mike, that for the second one, you weren't even aware that it had come out or that they were doing this type of thing. By the time the third one comes out, 3 years ago, were you aware of it by then?
Oh, yeah. I actually saw a commercial for this, and I'm like, for some strange reason, seeing a commercial for this coming out on DVD actually got me excited, because I was like, wait, what the hell are they doing now? Cinderella 3, A Twist in Time, and then and part of the commercial was, and I don't normally do this, but spoilers, part of the commercial was that the stepmother had the wand and was doing all this crazy evil crap, and I'm like, what the hell are they doing to this movie? And I believe I never actually got it on DVD. I actually wish I still had. I wish I had gotten it on DVD, but I'd seen it somehow. I might have seen it through like Amazon, download or rental, or I don't know. I had seen it somehow. I don't remember exactly how. I know it wasn't through iTunes because heaven forbid anything that Disney does, classic Disney animation, is in iTunes. I really enjoyed this one. It was different, and I don't know. I didn't have any real issues with this.
This is one of those ones, just like Cinderella 2, they both came out when I was working retail, so I was working specifically in an electronics / entertainment department, so I was actually responsible for putting every new DVD out on the shelves. So I was definitely aware that both of these came out because I had to put them on the shelves for the first time. But for me, it was always something where I saw it and I was like, oh my God, they're redoing something from 50 years ago. And I never paid a second attention to it. I never saw it. I never did anything. Of course, I'm against that type of thing, so I wouldn't have. So to me, it was, I was aware it came out and I went in one ear and out the other.
Oh.
What about you, Tara?
Oh, man. Well, when it first came out, I did run to the local video store and I did rent it out.
Did you literally run?
I did run.
Nice.
Because I was excited for this because it looked better than 2, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, it does.
But then when I watched it, I was disappointed because, I mean, maybe it's me and I don't understand the whole time traveling business, but I was just like, no, the stepmother cannot have the wand. She can't reverse time. Like, what is this? Like, come on. I mean, I didn't want to see that happen. I didn't want to see Cinderella, her whole fairy tale ending, that was already established in number 1 and number 2. I didn't want to see that, reversed. I wanted to see, what else can they do with this film.
Mm-hmm.
But this was it was blah. Like,
I'm tempted to, or I'm interested to see what other females think about this one. I wonder if it's more of a male-female thing, because I can't believe I'm saying this, but I'm kind of with Mike on this one. I don't necessarily like it, but I think it was a good concept. I was interested at the beginning. I was interested at the whole fact that what they were going to do and the idea of it. When we get to the actual show, I'll give what I have as far as problems with it and what parts I liked about it. But as far as the original concept, I'm not, against the concept of going back in time in this movie.
Exactly. So getting into the characters and voice actors, it's pretty much the same cast as the second film.
Yeah, it's the same cast. There's a few characters, obviously, that we're not going to have that were in the second one.
Thank God.
Yeah, it's the same cast from the second one. It's the same characters from the first one, plus Prudence.
Oh, damn, I thought she was gone.
No, she's in this one. So it's the same characters from the first one with the addition of Prudence, the exact same cast as the second one.
Yes.
So our comments from the second one have been, just go back and listen to them. You already listened to them, go back and listen to them again. I'm not going to repeat myself.
This, well, for me, because this was for me, this was a completely different film, whereas...
the voice acting.
Right, but I mean, still, even so, this still to me was a completely different film because I had missed out on Dreams Come True when it first got released, thank God. But for me, this one, it's pretty much, even though it's slightly different than the original voice actress that did Lady Tremaine. Mm-hmm. Just actually going back up here to make sure. Let's see.
Eleanor Audley.
Right, yeah. This to me, Eleanor Audley, even though she didn't do this one obviously, but this to me was as close as you can get to Eleanor Audley. And with putting a wand in her hand, I'm like, oh, well, all she needs now is some black horns and a cape, and she's Maleficent.
Yeah. So, who has your character? I mean, we said it for the second one. We might as well do it again. Has your favorite character changed?
For this one, probably not. I like Cinderella in this one as well, and again, it's because I have a crush on Jennifer Hale. But anyway, but I also like the Prince because it shows more of the, like we said, the problem with the second one was it was 3 individual stories. And with this one, it shows more of them, Cinderella and the prince, rather than stuff that's going on around them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because the story directly affects them.
Well, it's the first
That's
time
true.
you really get a good look at the prince. I mean, I kind of started, like I said, I started liking the prince in the second one, and this one I really liked the prince because you finally got a good look at him. I mean, I liked Cinderella more than I did in the other one, too. So I like both of them, but I think this was like spotlight on the prince there for a while.
He gets more screen time in number 3.
Which is good because Barnes does a good job with him, and they do a good job with giving, the development of his character. Especially compared to the first one, because the prince is hardly a character to me in the first one. He's like a side character. But I mean, I know he's crucial to the story, but it's like they did nothing with him in the first movie, and I really like to see them kind of unleashing the harness and let him be a character in this one.
He's definitely a hero, though. He's definitely a hero in this film.
Oh, yeah. And I know people are going to crucify me for keep going back to this, but because this was made in 2007, you had already had Christopher Daniel Barnes and Jennifer Hale have all that chemistry in Spider-Man. So they have worked together before, not only just in Cinderella 2, but on other projects. So the two of them as actors, actor and actress, they're going to have chemistry together to bring to the role. And I don't think they did that as well in Cinderella 2 because, as I said, Cinderella 2 basically almost didn't really focus on them at all.
But this one, the thing good about this one is the amount of development they give to the characters that had no development before.
Exactly.
I mean, you see more of the prince, you see a little bit more on the king's side, so you get to see a little bit more of these characters. I do actually like Lady Tremaine in this one. I know it's weird because I've hated all the Tremaines in all of them, but I don't know, I thought she was kind of cool in this one. She wasn't as... I don't know. She didn't turn me off as much as she did in the other movies. What was your least favorite, Mike?
It's probably gonna. Prudence is a big giveaway. It's probably gonna have to be. Let's see. It's gotta be. Jack just isn't the same. I don't dislike him, but there's still, because it's Rob and not Jimmy, it's not the original Jack.
You're a jackass.
I'm not saying it's bad. I'm not saying I absolutely hate it.
You dislike Jack more than you dislike Drizella?
Well, no. But is Drizella even in this?
Drizella, she's not in it as much as she was in the first and second, but she does play a part in the third film.
Yeah.
She plays a very annoying part, and she's very bitchy in the third one.
Oh, yeah. Drizella would have to take it, but I mean, just as far as differences, and I know Kevin's asking for least favorite, but it just, to me, Jack, although Rob did an awesome job with him, it's not this. I didn't get the same comedy bits from this one as I did in the first film.
I differ with you in that opinion.
Well, I'm not saying it was bad.
No, I found Jack hilarious in this one, but not necessarily hilarious, but I liked him. But what's your least favorite character, Tara?
Oh, definitely, it's got to be Drizella.
Yeah, to me, this one's a runaway 100%. For Drizella.
She's so juvenile in the third film, just because, I mean, when the stepmother gets the wand and they're in the palace, and Cinderella goes and confronts them and tries to set things right, she acts like a little girl.
Yeah.
She's and like, at least I got the wand, you lose, ha.
Right.
Like, what are you, a 4-year-old, or are you a grown woman?
Yeah, she's like the jealous little sister, or big sister. I don't know if she's supposed to be older or younger, but she's just annoying. And at least Anastasia redeems herself in this one.
Yeah.
So you can't really say it's Anastasia as your least favorite. I mean, I couldn't say that, but yeah, to me it's a runaway for Drizella because I like Lady Tremaine even a little bit better in this one. So
my only really complaint about voice acting in this movie is I don't understand why they didn't have Jennifer Hale as the actual voice and singing voice, because Jennifer Hale can belt out a few good tunes. I don't know why they had to have a separate singing voice for Cinderella.
Got me there.
Yeah, I'm not sure. You have to take it up with your crush.
Anyways. So getting into the behind-the-scenes stuff again. Ron J. Friedman. Oh, hi, Mr. Transformer.
Yeah.
He's pretty much the only one.
The interesting thing about this one is it's Disney Australia's final feature.
Mm-hmm.
The studio was closed and equipment auctioned off once Cinderella 3 production completed in 2006. Unlike the previous sequel, Cinderella 2, which was made mostly in Japan, Cinderella 3 animators were given meticulous model sheets and extensive live-action sequences for animation reference, and it was basically all done in Australia, so this was the final chapter for them.
Right.
I guess. I don't know where it went after that, but...
Yeah. I think that, overall, this story, as far as what the writers did with it, it's a fairly, front to back story, and there really isn't too many convoluted things in here. And before we get into the actual show and stuff, now that I'm looking at, part of this plot, I seriously think you could do without anything that happened in Cinderella 2 and just make this the second film.
Yeah.
Because it specifically states in here, the film starts on the first anniversary of Cinderella and Prince Charming. That makes no sense. Why would you have the second film where it's supposed to, find them after, unless it was right after, I think they even said it was right after the honeymoon, so I can kind of see that, but, still, why not just do this as
This is what they should have done.
This is what they should have done.
This is exactly what they should have done.
Yeah, this should have been the second movie. The second movie should not exist.
We didn't
End
need
of
Cinderella 2. We did not need Cinderella 2 because if you look closely at number 3, there are things in it continuity-wise that do not make sense.
Yeah.
In terms of Cinderella 2. Yeah, they conflict each other.
Yeah, I think they basically did ignore Cinderella 2 besides bringing Prudence in. So, and she, I know she's not the horrible character. I guess it's fine that she's in there, but that's the only thing that from Cinderella 2 that seems like it made it into the Cinderella 3. Everything else was ignored.
Yeah.
You want the plot?
Yep.
Basically, the mice and the fairy godmother are surprising Cinderella and Prince Charming in the woods there for their first anniversary. And what happens is Anastasia kind of spies and overlooks on what's going on and sees fairy godmother use her wand to do some magic. The fairy godmother eventually drops her wand in front of Anastasia, who then takes it back to her evil mother, Lady Tremaine. And basically what happens is they figure out that the magical wand is what Cinderella had, or what the fairy godmother had used to help Cinderella in the original movie to win her over with the prince, etc., etc. So Lady Tremaine decides to use the wand. First of all, she turns the fairy godmother into stone, which was kind of intense. And she decides to use the wand to travel back in time to undo what the magic did in the first place and, get one of her stepdaughters, or one of her daughters, with the prince like she wanted in the beginning. So the whole story is her basically trying to get the prince to marry Anastasia instead. Now, they go back to when the slipper is being tried on. That's the time where she picks to go back to, and she uses the magic so that the slipper fits Anastasia, and then she uses the magic to basically erase the memory of the prince and make it so that he thinks Anastasia is the girl, etc., etc. And the rest of the movie is basically Cinderella and the mice trying to convince the prince and right the wrong so that Cinderella again ends up with the prince in the end. So I'm skipping a whole lot, but that's basically the plot.
Yeah, my only problem with this is at the very end.
See, my only problem is somewhat at the beginning.
I have a problem with this film. Just one
from beginning to end.
No, not just the beginning and the end. I think it's just two scenes really bug me that I just don't seem would fit in this story is cloning Cinderella, turning Anastasia into Cinderella. If you remember that part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the second part is the carriage ride. I'm calling it the carriage ride from hell because that's basically what it is. Okay.
Okay.
You got Cinderella trapped in this, pumpkin.
Mm-hmm.
You got Lucifer turned human into a really rather grotesque-looking human, trying to kill her.
Yeah. It was kind of disturbing.
And you even hear her say in the film, "Make sure they don't come back." okay, obviously stepmother wants to get rid of Cinderella once and for all. That's pretty dark for a kids movie if you think about it.
Yeah.
Killing off Cinderella. You know, that's the only two issues I had with it, especially the carriage scene, because that even now, I'm like, oh god.
It was like the boat ride in the original Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Yes, it's
like just kind of creepy.
It's creepy, it's trippy, it's weird.
What was your problem with it, Mike?
The fairy godmother offers to reverse the timeline back to the original one before Lady Tremaine, but Cinderella declines, knowing that no matter what, she will still be happy with Charming. What I want to know is, what would have happened if Tremaine never got the wand, and what was that original timeline? I hate when anything does stories like that.
Oh god, yeah.
Seriously, because you never know. This new timeline where they are in love, maybe the original timeline, they got into a hissy fit and divorced each other. I don't know. You just don't know, and it makes me curious as to what was going to happen in that other timeline.
Well, that's why you look forward to a fourth movie. No, I'm just kidding.
No, I don't. No, we won't ever get a fourth.
No, we don't want a fourth movie.
Well, besides the fact that we don't want one, we won't ever get one because Disney has stopped the direct-to-DVD sequels.
Oh, they could always start it back up again, bring it out of the vault. Anyway, but I love the idea specifically. I know many different franchises have done the whole time traveling thing. I get that. But I think it perfectly fits in this one because in this one, you literally had the good characters using magic to get something accomplished. So you could literally go back and just change one event that was crucial and then have it your way. And I like the idea that that's what they did with this third one as far as just let's go back and fix it type thing as far as Lady Tremaine was going. Mm-hmm. My problem is, why would she pick the time she went back to? Why go back to the point when you're already trying on the slipper when the prince has already danced with Cinderella and fallen in love with her? Why not go back farther?
I didn't get that either.
I mean, I know for story purposes that's why they did, they had to do it because they had to have this memory between the Cinderella and Prince because that's how they end up back together. But if you're Lady Tremaine, you go back before the ball and make sure Cinderella never goes.
Well, I think the reason why they did it the way they did it was because, again, like what Tara was saying, you don't do the whole transformation thing with Anastasia. That's why they did it.
Well, I realize why they did it, but it makes no sense from Lady Tremaine's part. If you're looking in the plot, Lady Tremaine was a moron because if you go back to before the ball and you turn with your wand, you turn the fairy godmother into stone again or whatever, she can't do anything with Cinderella. Cinderella never goes, never meets the prince. Problem solved.
That's true. I agree with that.
So I understand from the writer's standpoint why they did what they did and they needed to have the story. But as far as a character, it makes Lady Tremaine an idiot.
Yes, that was a huge flaw.
Because, I mean, I like her a little bit more in this movie because she has the wand and she has some actual power and she can do things rather than just try to be the one, bitching in the background. But she made a critical error with when she went back to.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, I really don't have too many problems with the third movie. I got a little bored at the end, I think, because it seemed like they set up everything well as far as, I like the idea that Cinderella knows that the prince is supposed to love her, and she knows that she was the one that he fell in love with, and something's wrong, and the mice have kind of figured it out, and I realize, it's a perfect plot as far as them trying to come up with a way so that the prince will figure it out. And so everything will go back to normal. But then after that, it kind of gets a little convoluted where the whole last, 20 or 30 minutes, it just didn't flow well with me. I don't know if it was the crazy, what are we calling the crazy carriage ride or the turning Anastasia into Cinderella, but the last part of this movie kind of lost a little for me too.
It was like, what?
It was like I said, I like the concept, I like the build-up, and then it just didn't produce at the end for me.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It left you kind of
No, I mean, I agree with what Kevin's saying, but, I mean, just, if you look at this movie the way it should have been as far as the way it should have been like the original sequel, it's okay. I mean, yeah, it's kind of, I do agree with Tara that it is kind of dark for wanting to kill Cinderella and it being a kid's movie, but I mean...
But Disney does that a lot for other movies that came out.
Well, look at their first damn movie. Ugh, God. Anyway. Do we have a favorite scene in this one, Tara?
I think my favorite scene would probably be when the prince rescues her off the damn boat going to God knows where. That wasn't even established either in that movie.
Yeah.
That was just, it was like, if, correct me if I'm wrong, but when the prince just swinged around and did the whole knife thing through the sail, didn't that remind you of Peter Pan?
A little bit.
A little bit, yeah.
God. That was just cool. I mean, because you don't really see him do anything in terms of, like, action-wise in, like, 1 or 2. 3, he gets a lot of screen time and he gets a lot of action.
Yeah.
So that was just an awesome scene.
The prince is also involved in my favorite scene, and this is an absolute no-brainer again for me, is because I love the fact that they put in or inserted a scene with the prince and the king in which they comment on the ridiculousness of the whole concept of the glass slipper. Like, I know the glass slipper is, this iconic thing from the first movie or whatever, but they've never touched on how retarded this was for the prince to basically be going around trying this slipper on, and the first person that fits it has to be the person he fell in love with. And I love that the king's like, have you thought this out? What if more than one person fits into that slipper? Or, you'd realize how ridiculous it is to try to have every single person try this on. And I love how they kind of not really made fun of the first one in a way, but that they at least acknowledged that there was a part of the first one that was kind of ridiculous. So I love that they put that scene in there. I thought it was really well done by both the voice actors involved and the animators, and I just really love that scene.
Yeah. I think for me, with this one, I think my favorite scene, and I know this is bad, but I think my favorite scene was seeing the stepmother with the wand. That was
cool, too.
Yeah. Just her using the wand for every little thing, I thought that was kind of cool.
And it was interesting because you weren't quite sure what was going to happen when she pointed that wand at something.
Yep.
You're like, oh, what's going to happen now? And the wrong person has the power. No, if I would have picked that one if it wasn't for that slipper scene, and I just love the slipper scene too much.
Yes. As far as the music in this one, the original songs contained in the body of the film, including Perfectly Perfect, More Than a Dream, and At the Ball, were written by frequent Disney songwriters Alan Zachary and Michael Weiner, I guess. I don't know.
Weiner.
Yeah.
Who was involved in some of the classic Disney movies of the 90s, too.
Yes. Hayden Panettiere performed the end credits song I Still Believe, and a music video was created as a DVD bonus feature, and an official soundtrack has yet to be released.
You've never heard of Hayden Panettiere?
No.
She was in Heroes.
Oh, well, I hate that show, so.
He hates most cool shows, anyway.
That's not a cool show.
Well,
that's
that's
a rip-off of X-Men, that's all that
That's
is.
true,
It's a poor,
that's true.
That is such a poor rip-off of X-Men.
I'll agree with you there.
But you hate Lost and Family Guy, so shut up.
Family Guy sucks. It's nothing but Simpsons knockoff.
Oh, please, it's so much
Simpsons copycat. Anyways, getting into the legacy segment here, Cinderella 3 received mostly positive response among the 5 critics compiled at Rotten Tomatoes, who gave it a 67% rating. However, some fans of the original Cinderella are unhappy with this third installment of the series, and the film scored only 45% amongst users at Rotten Tomatoes. Well, it's better than 0.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. How do you score 0?
I don't even know. I don't even know.
Oh, it's so terrible. But this one had to do better, and obviously it did, so.
That's a good thing, though.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Cinderella 3: A Twist in Time was released on February 2007 and went back into the Disney Vault in January 2008.
So both of the second and third one are in the vault, so you can't go buy them.
Actually, all of them are, but you can get them on Amazon or eBay.
You can probably find them in a bargain bin somewhere.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Actually, if you look on Amazon, I'm sure they cost more than what they're worth.
Yeah.
As far as the special features, there's games and activities, Bibbidi Boppity Boo game, Cinderella's Ballroom, DVD-ROM, music and more, I Still Believe music video, Backstage Disney, Backstage at Disney Cruise Lines, Twice Charmed. First look at the new DVD, Disney Princess Enchanted Tales. Yeah, those features kind of suck.
The music video was pretty good, though.
Yeah.
I'll give it that.
So, final thoughts on all three movies, Mike? Or what did you think? How do you rank them? How do you sum it up?
First and the third one. First is obviously the best one, but the third one comes in as a close second. Cinderella 2 does not exist.
How about you, Tara?
I'll say, I have to agree, I'll say first and then third, and 2 can go stay in the vault.
Two can be lost in the vault somewhere.
Yes.
As weird as it is, I'm going to agree with both of you. One is the classic. One is, like I said, it was better to me than a couple of the other Disney movies out at the time. Not as good as some of the stuff that would come later. Cinderella 2 is god-awful terrible, and Cinderella 3, for an animated sequel, is okay.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So we're going to go do some advertisements and some voice actor promos. And I'll probably have Steve put in every single voice actor promo we have.
No, don't do that.
Well, the reason why I'm emphasizing that is because of some stupid moron on iTunes.
Oh, jeez.
So we'll be back.
ToonCast will be back after these messages.
Hey guys, Raphael here of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Did you say podcast? Dudes, dudettes, you're listening to the podcast on the GeekCast Radio Network. Cowabunga!
Hey guys, it's Optimus Solo from GeekCast Radio Network's The Telecast, coming to you with an important message about our Listener's Choice episode. That's right, for the first time in GeekCast Radio Network history, we are giving you, the listener, a chance to choose the topic in one of our shows. This is how you can cast your vote for what the topic should be. Head on over to geekcastradio.com and click on the Telecast tab at the top of the page. Once there, you can find our complete Season 1 schedule with all 35 episodes. Please look this over, because we would hate for you to cast your vote for a show that is already on our schedule. Once you've done this, just scroll to the section titled Listener's Choice and click on the Comments button. All that's left for you to do now is to cast your vote through a comment. For example, you might say, "Hey, I see that Nick Arcade is not in your Season 1 lineup, so I'd like to cast a vote for Nick Arcade to be the Listener's Choice episode." It's that simple, so please go cast your vote for your favorite show and stay tuned for episode 34 to see which show becomes our very first Listener's Choice. That does it for now. This has been Optimus Solo from The Telecast.
Sword of Omens, give me sight beyond sight. I see a new episode of ToonCast coming this week.
This is Megatron, leader of the Predacons, and I'm commanding you to listen to the Beast Unleashed podcast. Yes. This podcast is released bi-weekly by the folks over at GeekCastRadio.com. And I want you to listen to it because it's the world's first Beast Wars and Beast Machines review podcast. If you don't listen to it, I will send my vehicles to remove your sparks and destroy you. So, from now on, you will listen and tune into the Beast Unleashed. Or else. Excellent. Yes.
You're listening to the GeekCast Radio Network. Ha-cha-cha-cha-cha.
Do you like retro shows? Did you grow up in either the 80s or the 90s? Then tune into Telecast, GeekCastRadio.com's newest podcast. Join us here on the Telecast as we revisit some of your favorite shows, such as Clarissa Explains It All, Salute Your Shorts, Saved by the Bell, and much, much more, only on GeekCastRadio.com.
Now back to ToonCast.
Well, since Kevin screwed up my format, thank you for joining us here on ToonCast.
You're a dumbass.
There's several ways to get in contact with us or leave feedback for the show. Visit the website, geekcastradio.com. You can comment on each episode post. Leave the show's feedback in iTunes unless you're a Decepticon douchebag and don't know what the hell you're talking about. Follow us on Twitter. The show name there is GCRN ToonCast. Mine is TFG1 Mike. Kevin, what is your Twitter?
Boss K-Dog.
And Tara?
Tara Blair.
Become a fan on Facebook, facebook.com/Geekcast Radio Network. Call the voicemail line. Tell us the show you're leaving the message for and your name, 502-526-5821. We hope you enjoyed this episode of ToonCast and wish you'll join us next time when we will be in the Disney Spotlight covering Alice in Wonderland. For now, I am TFG on Mike with
Optimus Solo from BehindTheVoiceActors.com and the Telecast.
And Rising Star 9109.
Thank you for listening. Until next time. Wow, that wasn't such a train wreck like I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, see how that worked? Dumbass.
You're the dumbass.
And by the way, I didn't screw up your format. It's mine.
Yes, you screwed up my format.
No, I'm the one who created the format.
But it's my show, damn it. It's my format now.
Control
Cat fight, meow.
I know.